Right, meatballs in a tomato sauce. Now, in deference to my dear friend Patrick over at Paddy Joe Cooking in Melbourne, Australia, I'm going to loosely base this idea on an Australian rissole. Now, you've seen my version of rissoles. I did that very recently, but they're British rissoles, so I'm going to loosely base this on the Australian rissoles. Right, so let's take you through the ingredients for the rissoles and then we'll do the sauce afterwards. So I have 450 grams of, this is Welsh beef mince or ground beef. This is only 12% fat. Ideally I would use 20% fat, so I'm going to up the fat by the addition of some shredded beef suet, and I'm using this Atora brand, British brand of shredded beef suet. If you're using 20% fat, 80-20 mince or ground beef, you don't really need to worry about the suet. All right. You can obtain suet, Atora suet, in most places on earth by just simply ordering it from Amazon. Right, I've also got a packet, 170 gram packet of sage and onion stuffing mix. Now that's got everything in it really that I need to A, pad out the beef, and B, season it. Although I will be adding some extra seasonings, and you'll see that as we go along. Now this is an incredibly thrifty meal because you're bulking up an already inexpensive item, the beef, with some stuffing, and the stuffing adds so much flavour you're barely going to notice the bulk of the stuffing. I'm going to add a little bit of ketchup to the meatballs, salt, pepper, an egg, and some nutmeg. I fancy a bit of nutmeg in this, and the jar is there to hold the hot water for the stuffing. So the first thing we want to do is boil up just over 400 mils of water for the stuffing and get the stuffing mixed up. So I'm just going to top up the water, measure it to 425 mils, which is about 1 3/4 cups in the American measurements. And then I'll just mix that into there, straight in, and then we'll give that a stir to mix it. And at first it looks rather liquid, but as the dried elements in that soak up the water, it becomes a little more stiff, and that's what we want. So you leave that now to soak for a good 5-10 minutes, and I like to spread it up the bowl so it cools off quickly, like that. And all that time it will continue to absorb the water and it'll become a bit more stiff. And then I'll get back to you once that's cooled off enough. I don't want to put the meat in just yet because the meat will start to cook in it, and I don't want that. Alright, that's just warm now, it's not hot. And as you see, it's stiffened right up, and that's what we want. So that's nice and stiff. It's actually quite difficult to put my spoon through it now. So, and that's exactly where we want it. So make it according to the instructions. And you can use, the brand I use was Aldi's Quickso, but you can use Paxo, the normal British brand. And into there we want to get our meat. And then I just want to put in a couple of more seasonings. And those are, I want to get in some pepper. I like lots of pepper. You put in as much as you like. And because it's me, I'm going to put it in again, because that's the way I roll. So pepper. And we're going to need an egg in there. And that's a medium-sized egg, free-range egg. I'm going to want in about a teaspoon of salt, bearing in mind that the stuffing is already seasoned. And a nice little twist, something I particularly like, is some nutmeg. Nutmeg just adds something special to things like this, and I'm just going to put some in, some grated nutmeg. So let's have a look how much. So it's about 1/8 of a nutmeg straight in there. Because I need some extra fat, I calculated that I'm going to need about a tablespoon of that, so a little bit more of suet. And as an homage to my Australian friends, I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of ketchup. Right, you know the next bit, that's where I get in down and dirty with my hands. You can put it in a food mixer if you like, but you've got to mix that and mix it well. And I'll show you that right now. And you want to keep mixing until it gets really sticky in your hand. And that's a trick I learned from my friend Mr. Paul. You've got to let it get sticky. You've got to get it really sticky. That's when I'm making sausages. And because I like the results of that, I'm doing it for these as well. So be patient. You want to mix it till it's all thoroughly blended together. So we're at that stage now where it's really sticky. It's starting to stick to my hands, and it's looking really well blended. So there we have your basic meatball dough. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass that up the sides again so it cools down fairly quick, and I'm going to put that in my fridge for a few minutes, about 20 minutes, to firm it up again. Okay, I'm going to make a simple ragu tomato sauce for my meatballs. You can use a can or a jar of Italian tomato sauce if you like, or ragu sauce, but I like to make my own, bit of a purist. Really simple. So I'm using a medium-sized onion, which I've chopped finely, like that. And need some garlic, so I'll just chop these up. I don't need to chop that up too fine. I kind of like a bit of texture in my sauce. In addition to that, I've got garlic, onion, and I've got 500 ml of sieved tomato passata. That is not a concentrated tomato sauce, it's just sieved cooked tomatoes and as a sauce ingredient. Right, I've also got some mature cheddar. I'm going to be grating, there's 240 grams. I'm going to be grating most of that to go over the meatballs at the end of the cooking process. And I've got some salt and I've got some pepper. Right, so the next action happens over in this saucepan. Okay, just fry the onions in a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, and you just fry them down until they're translucent. What you don't want is for anything to burn, and I don't want to put the garlic in yet because that burns too quickly. The mistake a lot of cooks make at this stage is to put the tomato sauce in straight away, and the garlic, you don't, you move it in stages, because we want to coax as much flavour out of these onions as we can, and we do that by softening them up. Now some ragu sauces come with herbs, but because the stuffing is full of herbs in the meatballs, I won't be adding herbs to this. It will just be a very simple tomato sauce. So I stir those down until they start to become translucent, and then I can go in with the garlic. And I use quite a lot of garlic in my ragu sauces, so I've used 3 cloves, roughly chopped garlic, and keep it moving because we don't want it to stick and burn. Do this over high heat, keep it moving. Okay, that's cooked down, it's starting to soften, and bits in the bottom are starting to go a little bit brown. So this is the time to add in the tomato and the whole of that goes in. Waste not, want not, get it all out. You can swill it out with a bit of water if you like. And then we add some pepper. I like lots. And we're going to add some salt, about a teaspoon of salt. And then that should come fairly rapidly up to a boil. And as soon as that comes to a boil, turn it down to your lowest setting, cover it, and let it cook. Okay, the first thing you need to do is make sure your baking tray is oiled or greased. I use a bit of spray oil. Then you make sure your hands are wet. Grab a handful of the meat, roll it into a ball, and that's a lot easier to do if your hands are wet. And you drop it in, and then you carry on that way until you've filled the tray up and run out of meat. Every now and again stopping to make sure your hands are wet. Alright, I got 15 meatballs out of that. I was hoping to get 16, but it didn't, it only stretched to 15. Right, now they go into an oven at 180 degrees Celsius, which is 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and they go in for about 15-20 minutes. Keep an eye on them. So I'm just grating up my cheese. This is a cheddar cheese, it's a mature cheddar. I think cheddar cheeses are particularly good for this sort of thing. I really do like it. And if you've never made it with cheddar cheese, give it a go. You know, you probably really like it. I don't like to use the bagged pre-grated stuff because it's got it's usually got some sort of separating agent on it, like cornstarch, corn flour. So I don't really like to use it. Okay, we're about 15-20 minutes in, and as you see, they are rather nice. Let's have a look. We'll keep the oven running at the moment. That one's starting to break up a little bit, but they are quite soft, but they're still firm. They're holding together, if you know what I mean. Right, what I want to do with that now is I want to get on my tomato sauce. And what I'll do is I'll just spoon it on. Give my tomato sauce a stir. And there it is, nicely cooked down. And what I'll do is I'll just spoon that over my meatballs. Make sure you get a little bit on each one, and then cover up the bits that are missed with what you got left. Once you're happy with that, the next bit comes the cheese. And again, I just want to pinch on each one to start with, and then just share it over the meatballs. There's a method to my madness, and I'm quite insane. I think there are a few people that might agree with me on that. And you kind of know already what this is going to end up looking like, don't you? So what I like to do now is get the rest of the cheese on it, and then get some more black pepper over that lot. Now you can see why I didn't over salt the meatballs, because there's plenty of saltiness in the cheese, especially cheddar cheeses. They have quite a lot. And then that just goes back in the oven for another 10 minutes, and then we'll see when the cheese on top starts to brown a little bit, they'll be ready to serve. Alright, my nose tells me it's ready. So it's been in there about between 10 and 15 minutes, and that, boys and girls, is what it looks like. Gorgeous. Right, serving. I'm normally serve that up on just plain cooked pasta. So I'm going to plate some up and let you have a look. Gorgeous. Just give it a nice sprinkle of dried or fresh parsley. I'm using dried. And perhaps just another dusting of pepper. Absolutely beautiful. Enjoy. My dear friend Janet, our family friend for many years, will see that I am wearing the t-shirt she bought me for Christmas. It says, "Cookery is my cardio. Eating is my exercise." I wasn't going to let that go without giving it a try for you, because I know you like the taste tests. So let's just have a look, see what this looks like. They are quite soft, quite yielding, but you're getting quite a lot of bang for your buck out of these, because they're fairly cheap. A little like the texture of haggis, but really, really tender, delicious, herby and meaty, and that sauce is really nice with it. Nice and garlicky, tomatoey, and the tomatoes are baked down a little bit to concentrate them, so you've got that nice sweet concentrated taste of tomato with it. It's really good. Rather pleased with that. Hey friends, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you would like to follow my channel, please subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications for all my future videos. It would be great to hear from you in the comments, and I'll try to get back to as many of you as possible. You may wish to check out these titles or even help me out with a donation using the links in the description below the video. Thanks for watching.